Some cars are just bad, but these are the ones that destroyed their owners with repair bills and became cautionary tales for generations. Consumer Reports tracked them all. And today, we're counting down the 10 worst cars that absolutely nobody should buy. If this saves you thousands in repairs, hit subscribe. Let's get into it. Number 10, 1991 Saturn SL. Saturn promised to be the revolutionary American answer to Honda and Toyota with innovative plastic body panels, no haggle pricing, and a cult-like owner community. Instead, they delivered one of the most disappointing economy cars of the 1990s. The single-cam engines had catastrophic issues with cylinder head cracking, particularly near the camshaft journals where oil would leak into coolant passages. This wasn't a rare problem. It was so common that Saturn issued Technical Service Bulletin 96T65B documenting the defect in May 1999. They even extended warranties to 6 years or 100,000 M because thousands of engines were failing. Owners consistently reported severe oil consumption problems with engines burning a quart of oil every 1,000 to 2,000 M. Many owners didn't even realize their engines were low on oil until catastrophic damage occurred. Number 9, 2001 to 2005 Jaguar X-Type. The X-Type was Jaguar's attempt to compete with the BMW 3 Series and Mercedes C-Class. The problem, it was basically a Ford Mondo in disguise with a Jaguar badge and premium pricing. Built on the same platform as the Mondo, the X-Type inherited Ford components with questionable reliability. But unlike the relatively affordable Mondo, the X-Type cost twice as much and had twice the problems. The electrical failures were legendary. Control modules failed regularly, causing everything from windows that wouldn't work to the engine refusing to start. The electrical system was so problematic that some owners reported having their cars at the dealership for weeks on end. The Recapio Creative. Daily YouTube recaps in your inbox. Stop listening for hours. Start reading in minutes. Every morning at 8 a.m., our AI-powered digest lands in your inbox with all key insights from your favorite YouTube channels. Start your daily recaps. Sponsored. All-wheel drive system, unique to the X-Type, was a constant source of trouble. The Hall-Dex coupling failed frequently, essentially leaving the car front-wheel drive only. Fixing this cost between $2,000 and $3,000. The V6 engines, especially the 2.5L, had problems with ignition coils that failed repeatedly. Oxygen sensors died prematurely. The automatic transmission had a tendency to slip and eventually fail completely. Number 8, 1995 Chevrolet Cavalier. The Cavalier represented everything wrong with 1990s GM. Cost-cutting, poor quality control, and a complete lack of attention to what customers actually wanted. The 3-speed automatic transmission was a disaster. It would freeze up and refuse to shift gears when the transmission fluid got warm. Imagine being stuck in second gear on the highway because GM was too cheap to engineer a proper 4-speed automatic in the mid-90s when every competitor had moved on. Water pump failures were epidemic. Head gasket issues plagued many examples, causing coolant to mix with oil and creating that telltale chocolate milkshake on the dipstick. The turn signal switch was notorious for failing, leaving drivers without functioning signals or hazard lights. The 2.2L cylinder was gutless and rough. Oil leaks from valve cover gaskets, oil pan gaskets, and rear main seals were practically guaranteed. Number 7, 1971 to 1978 Ford Pinto. The Pinto became infamous for its deadly design flaw. The fuel tank was positioned behind the rear axle with insufficient protection. In rear-end collisions, even at moderate speeds, the tank could rupture and shower the passenger compartment with gasoline. The car would then burst into flames. Here's the truly horrifying part. Internal Ford documents revealed the company knew about this defect during development. They did a cost-benefit analysis and determined it was cheaper to pay wrongful death settlements than to spend $11 per car to fix the problem. That's not speculation. That's documented fact that came out in court. Estimates suggest the Pinto's fuel system defect caused between 27 and 180 deaths, depending on the source. Ford only recalled 1.5 million Pintos in 1978 after years of pressure. The Pinto became a textbook case study in corporate negligence taught in business ethics classes to this day. Number 6, 2004 2009 Chrysler Sebring. The 2004 Sebring was designed during the worst years of the Daimler-Chrysler era, when the German company was extracting every penny from Chrysler without investing in quality. The result was one of the most mediocre mid-size sedans ever built. The interior quality was shameful for a modern car. Hard, cheap plastics everywhere that looked like they'd been recycled from toys. The dashboard squeaked and creaked. Panel gaps were poor. Buttons and controls felt like they'd break the first time you touched them. The engines, especially the 2.7L V6, were ticking time bombs. Oil sludge buildup problems were endemic, frequently leading to catastrophic engine failure. The engine would simply seize because oil passages became clogged. Replacing the engine cost more than the car was worth after a few years. The 3.5L V6 wasn't much better, with head gaskets that failed regularly. Oil leaks were guaranteed. Radiator hoses cracked prematurely. The thermostat failed, frequently causing overheating. The 4-speed automatic transmission was notoriously unreliable. It would slip, refuse to engage gears properly, or fail completely. Replacing the transmission cost $3,000 to $4,000. Number 5, 1982 to 1988 Cadillac Cimarron. The Cimarron was badge engineering at its absolute worst. GM took a Chevrolet Cavalier, slapped on a Cadillac grille, added some leather seats and wood grain trim, then charged $12,181. That was a $12,000 markup over the $10,000 Cavalier it was based on. Buyers weren't fooled for even a second. You could park a Cimarron next to a Cavalier and see they were identical cars, same doors, same windows, same dashboard, same cheap interior plastics. Cadillac literally thought customers were stupid enough to pay luxury prices for a rebadged economy car. With only 88 horsepower from its anemic 1.88L four-cylinder. The Cimarron was painfully slow for any car, let alone a luxury car. 0 to 60 took over 13 seconds. A Honda Accord of that era was faster. The engine was buzzy, coarse, and sounded like a sewing machine. The interior, while slightly nicer than the Cavalier with leather and better materials, was still clearly from a cheap economy car. The seats were uncomfortable. The driving position was awkward. The dashboard looked low rent despite the wood grain overlay. Number 4, 1992 Cadillac Allanté. Priced at over $54,000 in 1992, the Allanté cost nearly twice as much as a Corvette. Cadillac promised Mercedes SL luxury and performance at a lower price. What they delivered was Mercedes SL reliability, which is emphatically not a compliment. Early Allanté suffered from quality issues everywhere. The convertible tops leaked notoriously. Water would pour into the interior during rainstorms. GM knew about this problem before launch, but decided to release the car anyway and deal with complaints later. The Bosch anti-lock brake system was expensive and problematic, frequently requiring repairs that cost thousands of dollars. Electrical gremlins plagued owners. Window regulators failed. The digital dashboard would glitch and display incorrect information. The climate control system couldn't maintain consistent temperatures. With 200 horsepower from the 4.5L V8 moving 3,600 pounds through the front wheels, motor trend measured 0 to 60 times at 10.3 seconds. That was 4 full seconds slower than the Mercedes SL it was supposed to compete with. The front-wheel drive layout caused torque steer and poor handling dynamics. Number 3, 1987 to 1991 Chrysler TC by Maserati. The TC was supposed to be a luxury convertible combining American and Italian engineering. Instead, it was a $33,000 Lebaron convertible with a Maserati badge, and buyers absolutely knew it. Development took so long that by the time the TC reached dealers in 1989, it had been in development for 6 years and looked completely outdated. Worse, Chrysler's own lever convertible looked nearly identical and cost only $18,000. Why would anyone pay $15,000 more for what was obviously the same car? The Maserati Tune 2.22L turbocharged four-cylinder produced just 200 horsepower and was plagued with reliability issues. Turbo failures were common. Oil leaks were epidemic. The engine would blow head gaskets. Connecting rods would break through the engine block. Build quality was questionable despite the Italian involvement. Panel gaps were uneven. Paint quality was poor with orange peel texture. The convertible top mechanism was unreliable and would frequently jam or tear. Electrical problems were constant with gauges that didn't work, windows that wouldn't roll up, and locks that wouldn't unlock. Number 2, 1960 to 1967 Renault Dauphine. The Dauphine was catastrophically unreliable, even by 1960 standards. The rear-mounted 845 cubic centimeters per cylinder produced just 32 horsepower. 30, that made acceleration dangerously slow for American highways and freeways. Merging onto highways was genuinely frightening. The little engine would scream at maximum revs and the car would still barely reach 60 miles per hour. Passing was impossible. You'd put your foot to the floor and nothing would happen except noise. Rust was the Dauphine's constant companion. The car would literally rust while sitting on dealer lots before anyone even bought it. French steel quality was abysmal in the 1960s. Owners reported rust holes appearing in fenders, doors, and floor pans within the first year of ownership. Within 3 years, many Dauphines had completely rusted through the body structure. The electrical system was a nightmare of French engineering that failed constantly. Lights would stop working. The starter would fail. The generator couldn't keep the battery charged. Wiring would short out and cause electrical fires. Number 1, 1990 Yugo. The Yugo became the ultimate punchline for automotive jokes, and it earned every bit of it. At $3,990, it was the cheapest new car you could buy in America in 1990, and you got exactly what you paid for, a rolling pile of disappointment wrapped in Russian sheet metal. The 1.1L four-cylinder produced just 55 horsepower and was laughably unreliable. The engine was based on a 1960s Fiat design that was already outdated when the Yugo used it. Components failed constantly with depressing regularity. Alternators would die, starters would fail, carburetors would clog, clutches would burn out, all within the first few thousand miles of ownership. The electrical system was an absolute disaster. The wiring harness was so poorly designed that shorts and failures were guaranteed. Headlights would stop working. Turn signals would fail. The horn wouldn't work. The windshield wipers would quit in the middle of rainstorms.